Welcome back to another edition of the Prospect Profile, a mini-series we do here within the Cincinnati Reds franchise here on MLB The Show 22. Last time we were down in AA Chattanooga to go over right-handed pitcher Chase Petty, and now this time we're going to be staying down in Chattanooga to go over Freddie Jones. Freddie Jones is a 19-year-old right-handed pitcher, stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, and weighs in at 224 pounds. He was acquired by the Cincinnati Reds, drafted 6th overall in the 2023 first-year entry draft out of Puerto Rico. And Jones is currently sitting at a 67 overall with an A potential, and that A potential pretty much makes him the most highly touted pitching prospect in the organization, probably has the highest ceiling among all of our pitching prospects. His repertoire consists of a 4-seam fastball, a 12-6 curveball, a changeup, and a cutter. The fastball can hit the mid-90s, definitely throws pretty hard overall though, can always be used as a pitch to overpower hitters, and he's able to locate it pretty decently well. While the cutter is pretty much the same speed as the fastball, there really isn't any velocity drop on that, so that's good to see. Throws at just about 95, 94 miles an hour, can run it in on the hands of left-handed pitchers, and then he can also use it as a sort of like a hard slider that doesn't break as much as a slider, but still has enough break to be used as a hard slider against right-handed hitters. You'll also see him occasionally attempt to backdoor it against left-handed batters as well. While the 12-6 curveball is more of like an up-and-down pitch, it's really, it doesn't have too much consistency to it as of this moment right now, but hopefully it gets a bit more settled in as he develops. Right now, sometimes it's just flat-out filthy, and then other times it really doesn't break as much as you would think or want it to. There was a couple times in-game where I perfectly timed up the pitch, and even though I had it breaking pretty well below the strike zone, it would only break a little bit and end up, in the wheelhouse a bit where guys are able to make hard contact in it, or, it would catch the bottom of the zone and guys would just ground down. It's like, a ground out obviously is not a bad outcome, but I'm also not trying to locate it where it ended up being. It just didn't break as much as I would have liked it to. But when that thing is on, it completely falls off the table. So if it can be consistently like that, just a little bit more consistent, it can be an absolutely lights-out strikeout pitch for him. While the changeup, on the other hand, does what it's supposed to do. It's a slower pitch than his fastball, does a good job of changing things up, and it can also be used as a little bit of a ground ball pitch, but it's definitely not like a go-to swing and miss sort of pitch. So now if we take a look at Freddie Jones's stats here this season in 2024, this is actually his first year actually playing in the organization, and we're still pretty early on in the campaign, so he doesn't have really huge numbers to show off here, but he has thrown 33 1/3 innings pitched in AA South this season, and he has been solid in those limited innings. 2.70 ERA, 3.48 FIP, definitely pretty solid. The 7th best ERA in all of AA South as it stands right now, like I said, pretty early on in the year. He's only striking out about 7 guys per 9 innings, which I do think is going to be a thing that goes up as his career progresses because he does have a good K per 9 rating, which we will get into a bit. He also has an extremely impressive 1 walk per 9. While the home run per 9 is at 1 right now, I would like to see that drop below 1, but it could be worse because when we take a look at his ratings, he does have a bit of a not great home run per 9 rating. It's currently sitting at 23, which is definitely a thing that could be an issue as his career progresses. But he also does have a really solid K per 9 and walk per 9 already as a 19-year-old pitcher, sitting at 68 and 70 respectively right now. And I do always love a pitcher that limits walks, and then strikeouts are also always cool. While the hit per 9 currently is sitting at a 45 rating, but he is an A potential, he is only 19 years old, so he is going to keep improving, and easily in like 2-3 years, if he has a couple solid seasons in the minors, or even in the big leagues, who knows what can happen, that could easily be in the 60s very shortly. It's not going to take long at all for him to develop those ratings if he has good seasons of production. And then he also has the 81 stamina to go along all with that, so he definitely won't really have any issues working 6-7 innings into games. And as far as Freddie Jones's future in the organization goes, like I said, he's probably the highest ceiling among the pitching prospects that we have in our organization. We have a lot of B potential guys. I don't believe we have any other A guys aside for him, at least right now. But the thing about it is that this Reds organization is a pretty loaded farm system, as there are so many different prospects, and there are only so many spots in the big leagues for those prospects to fill. And of course, some guys just don't pan out. There's not going to be enough spots for all these guys. So some of these guys will end up either, not panning out or being trade bait at some point. Will Freddie Jones actually make it to the bigs or be trade bait? That is obviously something that we'll have to figure out as time goes on. But ideally, just looking at his A potential, already so good at 19 years old, and the potential to be a front-end starter, that is ideally what we would like to see from him at the big league level for us, is be a front-end starter. But that will wrap things up here for this edition of the prospect profile of right-handed pitcher Freddie Jones. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I am saying, Calvin Cater.